As Ava was saying, we're going to be recording today's conversation. We also ask that you just stay on mute if you're not asking a question or engaging. We do ask also that you really do rely on that chat function. We've got Link Learning Alliance staff who will be monitoring that and helping to lift up those questions to the broader group. I think that is about it for housekeeping. We will also, just so you guys are aware, we will be breaking folks out into breakout groups towards the end to allow for some additional engagement. So please do stay with us. And then lastly, as Ava was about to get to, and as you guys started introducing yourself in the chat box, again, this is all just to make sure that we're just all aware who's on the phone, and we want to drive as much engagement and interaction as possible during what is hopefully one of your last Zooms of the day. And we're also on social media, so we will be amplifying today's conversations. Many of our speakers are going to also be on social media, tweeting and just making sure that all of these great ideas and great thinking reach out and extend into in the larger world. So just be sure to use the hashtag #LinkLearning. And then with that, I will hand it over to my colleague, Dan Storrs.
Thanks, Rachel. I'm Dan Storrs. I'm the Senior Director for K-12 Engagement at the Link Learning Alliance, and welcome everyone to today's webinar on leveraging your Pathway Advisory Board to engage industry partners and keep students connected to purpose. An engaged advisory board is critical to providing students in linked learning pathways with quality career and work-based learning experiences. Advisory boards made up of school administrators, pathway faculty, and industry partners support pathways by serving as professional mentors to young people, build students' social capital and professional networks, developing curriculum and projects that integrate real-world applications of the industry theme, providing feedback on student work, and connecting students to high-quality work-based learning experiences. Establishing a strong advisory board is a challenge. It takes time for beginning and advanced pathways. Building and maintaining relationships outside the school community with industry partners is generally not considered an educator's role, certainly not a teacher's role, but it's important, and when done well, has profound effects on students, as demonstrated by recent survey results, especially as COVID-19 persists. It's more important than ever to engage industry partners on pathway advisory boards to keep students linked to their college and career goals. Today, we are fortunate to be hearing from an impressive group, including educators, an industry partner, and a graduate from Antelope Valley Union High School District, who will share how they are making these partnerships work. Our guests will also discuss opportunities and challenges for advisory boards presented during distance learning. Specifically, today you will learn strategies for establishing and nurturing relationships with community and industry partners, identify ways to foster meaningful connections between students and partners, and ensure partnerships are mutually beneficial and a good value and fit. And you will share challenges and solutions for engaging partners in your local context. The Alliance surveyed juniors and seniors in spring of 2020 across 7 linked learning districts in California. Our goal was to understand how the COVID crisis had affected students, their education, and their future. The findings suggest that work-based learning and connections to employers are important for keeping kids connected to purpose. 65% of juniors and 57% of seniors shared being connected to employers who are involved in their pathway or academy, and that was very helpful. 56% of juniors and 61% of seniors shared practicing work-related skills such as interviewing, presenting to a group, or collaborating on a team was very valuable. I want to discuss with you now kind of a framing for today's discussion on advisory boards and those partnerships. It's all really focused on one thing, and that's student outcomes that are equitable, college and career focused, civic minded, and supported by the data. And as you can see from this graphic, that they are very much integrated with the program of study that students have at school and with the supports that are provided to make sure that all students can be successful. So now I'd like to introduce you. to an amazing and accomplished team of educators from Antelope Valley and specifically from the Lancaster High School Multimedia and Engineering Academy, one of the original cohort of pathways receiving Link Learning Gold certification. So with us today are Diane Walker, Director, Industry Liaison and Post-Secondary Partnerships, Erica Ruff, Coordinator, Lancaster High School Multimedia and Engineering Academy, Eric Frias, Teacher at the Lancaster High School Multimedia and Engineering Academy, Aaron Valencia, CEO and founder, Los Angeles Children's Project and Academy Advisor and board member, and Jennifer Benegas, Pathway graduate, who we're really glad to have with us today, sharing her perspective and experience. So Diane, if you'd like to start us off.
Thanks very much, Dan, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your participation because we know this is a very busy time. Many of you are getting down to the end of a semester and just crazy busy. I'd like to take just a few minutes to start and provide you with an overview of our district and my role with industry partnerships at a district level. By way of some context, here's our district's mission and vision statements, which, as you can see, focus on preparing students for college and career and life. We want every student to have multiple options available for their future success. This slide shows our district's graduate student profile, including the knowledge, skills, and dispositions we believe every graduate should have. And as you can see, they're creator, innovator, collaborator, global and productive citizen, and communicator. And you'll hear from Erica and Eric in a few minutes in a bit more detail about a site perspective on the graduate student profile. This is a bit more information about the academies and pathways in our district, which are in 9 industry sectors, and how linked learning efforts are integrated into our activities. Lancaster High School's Multimedia and Engineering Academy was the first silver certified linked learning academy in California, and as Dan mentioned, one of the cohort of the first gold certified academies nationwide, along with our Eastside High School Biomedical Science Academy. We align our pathways and academies with regional labor market needs and utilize a variety of applicable funding sources to accomplish our goals. My particular position was written into our district's LCAP, for example, with CTE and other general and targeted funding sources available for our work. This is facilitated by the CTE admin team regularly engaging within the district's Ed Services department. As you'll see here, our high school district is located in the northernmost reaches of Los Angeles County, also bordering San Bernardino, Kern, and Ventura counties over nearly 1,200 square miles. We have students from 8 K-8 districts feeding into our high school district, with each district, of course, having its own distinct personality and focus. In addition to the information on the slide, which you see we have a very high percentage of low socioeconomic status students. We have approximately 65% Hispanic and Latino students, 19% African-American students, 12% Caucasian students. As far as grade levels, we have about 2% 7th and 8th graders in our district dependent charter, and the rest of our 23,000 students, more or less, are about equally divided among grades 9 through 12. So to give you a little background about myself, just to again give you a bit of context, I was in the private sector for about 15 years before I began teaching, when I joined the Highland High School Law and Government Academy in the AVUHSD, and later I became a co-coordinator of that academy. I moved into CTE administration and also became a linked learning district coach. My current position was created about 5 years ago as part of advancing our linked learning integration throughout other academies. One major area of focus is on business and industry involvement with our academies and students. As a consequence, we've developed an intentional approach with a few facets, as you can see here. So why would you have an advisory board? I love something that I read recently from the San Diego Unified School District's advisory board pamphlet. They said that an advisory board member can be a cheerleader, a manager, a planner, a communicator, a sounding board, a stakeholder, a problem solver, a marketer, and a resource broker. So I personally think the better question is, why would you not want to have an effective advisory board? First and foremost, how do you get there? We feel it's critical to keep your potential industry partners aligned with the district's and academy mission, vision, our graduate student profile, and student learning outcomes. But just as important, we want our business partners to feel that the relationship with the district and the academy are fulfilling their needs consistent with their mission and vision, in addition to the normal corporate outreach and workforce development objectives. There are some additional resources that I believe will be shared with you about the functions of an advisory board, as well as the qualifications to consider for your advisory board members. So again, how do you find those advisory board members? Getting down to the nuts and bolts. One way to determine business partners who are a good fit is to do some research about local and regional companies or organizations aligned with your pathway and academy theme. Another way to connect with business partners is through a more informal networking approach. For example, through participating in chambers of commerce or professional association meetings, or frankly, just through your normal activities in the community. What businesses do you go to? What place of worship do you attend? What service clubs do you know? How about your neighbors, your spouse? Who do you know and whom do they know? I've shared a National Academy Foundation document that lists different ways to connect, and also created just a little business bingo game that you could play with your teachers to find those connections. Regardless of how you initially make contact with a potential advisory board member, it's a best practice to have a purposeful follow-up meeting to address the needs and expectations of both parties and to find out how their participation will be a benefit to each of you. When I meet with business partners, I typically provide them with our district graduate student profile, Pathway Academy information sheet, Academy brochures, as well as a rundown of how they can become involved, and a survey asking for their information, as well as linked learning fact sheets. I review each of these briefly with them, and I ask them how they'd like to proceed. And really important is, how much time are they willing or able to commit? Everyone has a different timetable, and you don't want to overload anyone. So ask specifically. And I always have some future meeting or event that I invite them to, a district or pathway advisory board meeting or an academy event. And I send them a follow-up email right after our visit, thanking them and reiterating the invitation. And I have to confess, I've been known as a benevolent pest before. So if I don't hear back from them in a reasonable amount of time, I follow up politely. So now Erica is going to speak to you a bit more about the Lancaster Multimedia and Engineering Academy and their advisory board's functions.
Thank you, Diane, and thanks Linked Learning for having me today. Like Diane said, my name is Erica Rowe like dough, not rough like tough. I'm the coordinator for Lancaster High School's Multimedia and Engineering Academy. We started as a digital media pathway back in 2009. And the linked learning approach was used to grow our pathway from 2010 to 2015. In that time, we added some programming and some engineering into our program as well. And then in 2015, the digital media and engineering pathways became an academy, and we started to cohort students in a way that I think is really beautiful, because it's two pathways that kind of marry into one, because really you can't have engineering without the arts, and you can't have arts without engineering. And so it's a really beautiful way that the academy has grown. In 2017, we became the first silver linked learning academy in California. In 2018, we had a few changes to our administration, and we pursued and persevered gold certification, one of the first 12 schools to receive that certification. We have a multi-spoked approach. We like to call it a wheel. And we are trying to prepare our students for not only career pathways, but college as well. So it's not an or, it's definitely an and. And we talk to our students constantly about how the reason why we aim for college isn't because that's the best way or the only way, but it's the most fragile of the 5 spokes for post-secondary education, right? It requires the most of you. And so if we prepare our students for college, they can do whatever they want after high school. And so that really is the beauty of our 5-spoked approach. That stuck with me really far into our thinking, that we really want to make sure that all pathways are just as important, but the 4-year college is the most fragile. We serve a really diverse group of students with one of the highest number of foster youth in the Valley. And so that really was in the back of our mind as we were thinking about what we are doing and accomplishing. We work to create our SLOs over a few years with the help of our Envision Learning partners. We call these our graduate student profile. We have 4 main categories. We have bold innovator, skilled collaborator, dynamic communicator, and global and productive citizen. One of the most important of those is the global and productive citizen. It really includes seeing the world around us and meeting the needs of those students. And again, as I mentioned before, because our youth in foster care is so big, the stretch to working with Lost Angels Children's Project was just a no-brainer. And so I will hand it off to Eric so he can tell you a little bit more about that partnership.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys inviting us here. Let's see what slide. Here we go. So my name is Eric Frias. I teach at Lancaster High School. I'm an engineering teacher as well as a set design teacher. I also am a robotics advisor, and I run some after school clubs with colleagues of mine. I do a lot of things on campus that are involved in CTE, and really my goal is to meet students where they are. So I'm just going to kind of hit a couple I'm going to leave the first 2 bullets for Aaron in just a second, because he can really speak to what we're doing right now. But I'm just going to go this 2-second or the 3rd and 4th bullet here. Our relationship is really based on a shared vision. Diane spoke. Both Dan and Diane actually had wonderful things to say. I loved their intros. I can echo 100% of what they're talking about. One of the coolest things that Diane mentioned was that you can leverage your partnerships. You can leverage who you can leverage your spouse, your friends, and that's what I do. I'm a fairly new teacher. I do come from industry, but I also have some connections here in the Antelope Valley, just from projects and friends of mine. I've known Aaron Valencia for years and years and years, and we've collaborated on lots of different things. So it was really kind of like Erica said, it's just a no-brainer. When you'll get to know Aaron very shortly here, and when you get to know Aaron and you get to know what his passions are and where he spends his time and energy, you can't help but get on board. And the fact that it was a shared vision, and the fact that just getting on board with these guys during COVID, what they're doing during COVID, it changes the game for all of us as educators. COVID-19 really kind of tied our hands. A lot of us have our hands tied. I see you guys are coming from all over the place. I see schools from the chat. I'm looking at Visalia, Elk Grove, Long Beach. I mean, you guys come from big school districts, and as you guys know, there's a lot of red tape sometimes. So sometimes our hands are tied, and that's when I'm looking for partnerships where we do have a shared vision, and we're going to leverage who we know and what we can do inside of school and outside of school. One of the main things for Los Angeles is you'll go to their website. Their website's linked up on the slide here, losangelescp.org. In their mission statement, it does say, it's a Frederick Douglass quote, I believe, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." And that is that's just key. That's key. That's at the forefront of what we're doing. It's targeted support to an underserved population. It's really recognizing the need. If we're talking about some of the bullet points under our global and productive citizen, the first bullet point says identifies a need and takes action to positively impact local, regional, and global communities. And that's really the foundation for our partnership with Los Angeles, is looking at our local community, recognizing a need, and taking action is really what it's about. It's also that last bullet point, we focus on work-based learning through service. There's no other way to really impact on students how important some of this work is and how important it is for us to meet some of these needs, than to really just have them work in that environment. And whether it's being involved in a program, whether it's volunteering for a program, there's a lot of learning that can happen through service, and that's just huge for us. So I'm going to give it over to Aaron Valencia. This man is amazing, you guys. He's a CNN hero finalist a couple years back. That was really cool to see my boy on TV. But I'm going to let him talk about LACP real quick, give an overview of LACP, what he's doing, and also talk about this Good Life Manufacturing offshoot that he started during COVID-19. Aaron Valencia, my man, it's up to you. Where's he at?
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me, Eric. Eric is an amazing hype man. I'm almost nervous to live up to the hype at this moment. No, thank you so much for having me. In 2014, I really saw from working with motorcycles going by at the local homeless shelter, just noticing a lot of the kids in our community that I didn't grow up out here. I moved out here a while ago, and noticing just a lot of the poverty and a lot of the struggle in our community, and I wanted to do something bigger. So I started an after-school program teaching classic car restoration and art for high school kids, 13 to 18. A lot of them were mostly foster, low income, high risk kids coming doing community service. I would rather you learn a trade while you're doing community service instead of being the dong pound cleaning up kennels. I figure how can we better your life? How can we give you the skills? Through years of doing this, working with local communities, just this last year, we started a day work program for a lot of our students that we've been pushing to graduate high school, that we've been pushing on soft skills and trying to create this sense of belonging. And now we got them to graduate high school, everything's good, and they're coming back with an application for Taco Bell. And I thought, man, we could do better. You know, as a team, we can all strive and do better. And there's the big aerospace industry out here, everything. We could team up and create a advanced work program we call Good Life Manufacturing. And it's actually a 12-week course. The first 6 is apprenticeship, where they're learning all the hard skills, soft skills of tape measure, blueprinting, a bit of, with Eric Fries's help, composites. And then at that 7-week mark, we drug test, interview, mock interview, the whole bit, and actually hire them. And they are paid employees here working. So now you're getting a living wage, $15 an hour to start for that last 6 weeks. And it's really on the job training. So when they leave, they are prepared for the workforce. And I think what we've noticed over the years in this community is it's a lot more than just teaching someone how to, let's say, be a welder. That's great. But if you don't know how to have a checkbook or how to have a bank account or how to deal with a lot of the trauma that a lot of our young people now are carrying around on the daily, we could put you into a great job, but the probability of you losing that job in the first 6 months is pretty high. So we're really focusing on the soft skills and the wraparound services at the same time. A lot of our community there's the barriers that a lot of people might not understand of simple high school education or driving stuff, or just a broken home, childcare for some of our young adults already. So that's really what we're really trying to bridge that gap and get everybody really prepared for the workforce and directly into the workforce. So right from high school, to do a quick course and really crash course and get them in. And so it's amazing being part of this conversation and linked up with our local community. We've had several partners out here, and not to toot his horn, but Eric Frias and Ryan McDaniel have been great assets and great partners in our local community, our local high school. We've had Jennifer Benegas, she'll come on and talk in a minute, where she was with us after school, and then with Eric during the day. And we had a Halloween thing last year where we actually collabed and all worked together as high school kids were doing, and we were working on the same project together. And it was such a really cool experience for everyone involved, and really opened my eyes to the community. It is a small community out here, but sometimes it feels really big, and we're kind of in a bubble by ourselves. So it's really great to know there's other people motivated with the same goal of preparing our young people for a better life. So honestly, I couldn't be more grateful, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That's what it is. It's a shared vision. Like Aaron said, I knew having him on, he would put it just in the exact way that I see it. Um, that's the best part is when you guys can align, putting your students' goals first, and really, I know that it's important for everybody to have positive outcomes. You know, you want something, you want a benefit for all stakeholders. You know, you're putting your kids first. You want to get them good training. You want to do the best thing for them. You also want to grow your academy. You want to grow your advisory board. You're looking at the future, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And then you have the stakeholder of the industry partner. You know, Aaron is considered an industry partner. His industry is a service industry, really, where he's serving people. He's serving young people. And so when you're talking about that, how can we help Aaron? How can we have a shared vision? We're helping our school, we're helping our kids. How can we also help him and accomplish what he's going to do? So when you can get on board with a shared vision and everybody, all stakeholders involved can benefit from that partnership, oh man, you could do some crazy stuff. And especially during COVID-19, if my hands are tied, maybe his hands aren't tied, right? And if he comes into a hurdle, maybe we can help him over that hurdle. So it's a mutually beneficial partnership, and I think that's what's important.
Dave, one,
Yeah, go
one
for
more
it.
thing, if I can add in real quick, it is working. We had one of our students right now. He's actually doing his phone interview with Northrop right now. So it's he's in the other room doing his phone interview. So it's amazing. So we're all on a high note right now. So it does work.
It does. That's crazy. That's so cool. It's also important for us as high school teachers. So we have a slide in front of us right now that has us three. It has Aaron's perspective and Jennifer and mine. So I'm gonna bring on Jen in just 1 second. But I can kind of close mine out real quick. My focus is going beyond the classroom, reaching students where they are, and honestly, sometimes it's following students out of high school, and that's the hardest part because sometimes we got them for 4 years. I've known some of these kids since they were in middle school, so I'm like 6 years into this kid, and as soon as they graduate, it's like, oh, it's a you got them to the finish line. In our community, that's not true. It's just not true that the finish line is there's a long road ahead after high school. And I think that's where a partnership like this, it broadens our focus, and it's really opened my eyes up to how we can better serve our students, even after they're considered graduates and they really aren't our students anymore. So a partnership like this is just amazing. Jennifer Benegas. So Jennifer's class of 2020. Jennifer is one of the smartest, just so talented, crazy creative, free spirit young lady. So Jen, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, talking about your perspective being a student and working with me, working with Aaron, and then finally really just becoming an adult and volunteering. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Frias. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and I've been a student for both Mr. Frias and Aaron in volunteering at Los Angeles. Both programs taught me a lot about collaborating and definitely helped me become more comfortable in a social settings because it was all under the guise of working. We were all constantly working on projects and tasks at all times. And for being in both programs, I would notice how interchangeable a lot of the things I was learning was between both programs. But obviously being in Mr. Frias's class, it was more art-based and I had all the focus and preparation I needed that I was taught at LACP to apply in the classroom. And I noticed that I wasn't that scared to use any tools or work on my own because I was used to that at the shop. So I never felt like I was lacking any principle or organization in the tasks that I was doing. Whereas with other students I noticed who were just getting into the program were really hesitant, like, oh, I'm learning how to use tools, or oh, I'm being left to my own devices. But I saw that throughout the year, as they got more comfortable and they saw how they could learn on their own and learn that discipline and be left to their own devices, how they just felt really comfortable with the service. And they all became really comfortable being left to their own devices. And I really noticed how I apply that now as a student in college, because I really am comfortable collaborating with students or being put in situations where I'm not familiar with everything that I'm doing for the first time. And I noticed that both programs really helped me be not scared to go into an unfamiliar setting, because I know that I can figure it out or get the help that I need to know what to do, to know how to get into that workforce. Or I know I'm not going to be just left in the dark, because I have all these skills that were applied to me in both programs. And then I noticed that a lot of other students, as they were getting into the program and as we were starting to collaborate with Los Angeles and Mr. Freeze's class together, I saw them kind of get the same outlook that I got when I was first getting into the program. I saw a lot of students go from being super bored in the classroom to really, really engaged. They were excited to come to class. And I noticed that when we started doing the haunted house, that they were so involved. Like, I had never seen some of my friends just be so engaged in the classroom and so excited and willing to put in extra work. So I know that it helped them a lot. A few students that I know who I graduated with in my class, they really put in a lot of extra work, especially when we were doing that collaboration with Los Angeles. They went and they just tried to do a lot of extra things. They were really excited. It was really cool. We had a lot of big projects to get done we did haunted house. So we had a lot of big projects to get done for that haunted house. And one of the main things that we did was a giant 16-foot skull. And I remember everyone being really, really excited about that. And it was really interesting to see how the class came together to be so excited about that project, to break it down, because everyone wanted to have a part in that project, and everyone wanted to see it put up at the shop during the haunted house. So once it was done, everyone was really excited, and throughout the whole entire process, no one was ever bored. No one ever felt left out. And I feel like it still translates now to whether they're working in the workforce right now, post-graduation, or in school right now. I know a lot of students who took a lot from each class, and I know a lot of students who were a part of the program at Los Angeles who took a lot with them from both programs.
Right. Jennifer, it's so funny that you mentioned that. So thank you. First of all, thank you so much. I love hearing you talk about the overlap, and I just love seeing your success after high school. This is so cool, and we're definitely going to keep in touch. We always do. But well, the funny thing is I actually have pictures of that you were talking about. So I'm not going to share my screen, but I actually have a couple windows that you guys can see here. So that's Jennifer right there. That's that 16-foot. That's my shop at school. That's Jennifer in the middle of this huge 16-foot skull that she primarily painted, but with the help of some other students too. But then that's it hung up at Aaron's shop at Los Angeles, and that's Aaron helping us hang it. You know, he's on the engineering side too, so it was a really fun, cool collaboration that I really enjoyed. So I just thought I would share those photos real quick because you mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I have those. Very cool, very cool. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Okay, well, let's see. We can, I think we can just move on real quick. A lot of this is going to overlap, but another program at our school that you guys out there might be familiar with is our robotics program. I think I'm talking about the First Robotics organization. I think there's a lot of, I know that there's a lot of robotics teams at a lot of your high schools and some of your districts. And I would really encourage you guys that do have a robotics team at your school to really support that program, because at its core, it really is about mentorship. You know, their whole slogan, First Robotics, is more than robots. And I took that to heart when I came to the team. So our team is Team 399, Eagle Robotics at Lancaster High School. So I came to the team in 2015 to the school really through robotics. So this is one of those things that, you know, my wife was already a teacher, so I was already on campus and I was already doing things and volunteering. But once I got involved in the robotics program and I really started to see like, wow, they can take some of my knowledge from industry and we can apply it right here at school. And then I was impressed that they were already on their own level. They were already doing some crazy stuff. So industry mentorship is embedded in the model of the First Robotics competition, specifically the FRC, the top level, but there's also FTC and different levels. I saw someone here from Milliken High School. They got Millikenites. So they got a really good robotics team. So yeah, there's student benefit, you know, there's so many opportunities for collaboration through First Robotics. It really is it's like Diane said, it's a huge example of an industry partnership. So she said it's an industry partner expanding from mentor to teacher. Yeah, this is how I got into teaching, really. I knew I wanted to make the shift, but I, had the school not opened their doors through the robotics program to almost recruit industry people and to really bring them into the classroom, I'm not sure that I would be sitting here right now. So I owe a lot to the FIRST Robotics program for that. We've expanded the program. Really, we're the oldest team in the Antelope Valley, one of the oldest teams in California, 20 something years old, 20, I think we're 21, 22 years old. So it's we took the lead and really expanded in the last 5 years to become a model for robotics classes. So that's something that you guys can do in your district. And that's cool because, if you can't support a huge entire after school program, but maybe you can pick up a robotics class, that's another opportunity to still follow the FIRST Robotics model. You can bring in a bunch of industry people now into your classroom during regular school time, and that's an amazing opportunity for students as well. So real quick, we also started the Antelope Valley Core. It's the Coalition of Robotics Educators. We did that because these programs are huge. These programs are it's a really challenging thing to try to run a big program like this, especially at multiple sites within a district. So I really do want to encourage you guys to not only leverage your industry partnerships for the purpose of an advisory board, but leverage your industry partnerships for the purpose of supporting each other as well. So the AV Core is really about teachers supporting teachers, staff supporting staff, because we want every school in our district to have a robotics team where they can collaborate and they can get work experience and they can have industry mentors. We want that to happen at every single site in the Antelope Valley. And one of the ways we're trying to do that is by developing the Coalition of Robotics Educators as a support mechanism. So we also do. We had a NASA's parent. As Diane said, we're kind of known as the Aerospace Valley. And that's one of those things that people kind of throw around because, like Aaron said, he's got a student right now interviewing for Northrop on the other line. We have Northrop, we have Lockheed, we have NASA. So we're fortunate in that regard. But some of those partnerships are hard to come by sometimes, So what happened with this program is again, it's leverage. There was a parent in the audience at an orientation, and this partnership was initiated by that industry partner, that NASA parent. It kind of spiraled into a 3-year project. We had NASA mentors coming in after school. It became a 7th period class. It was really cool program. And it did become the model for more after school classes at different sites. So in short, I really think that, some of these things have happened at our site because we don't say no to a lot of stuff. To a fault, I don't say no to a lot of stuff. I'm always saying yes. So, I encourage you guys to do the same. And leverage not only who you know, but who you meet and who you could possibly meet through different interactions. So I think facilitators help me out. I think
Great.
that's the end of our portion.
Thanks, Eric. That was terrific from all of you. And I just want to kind of highlight, you had so much great information. And quickly before we go into the breakouts, I want to highlight a couple of things. I know a lot of the participants out there, the linked learning schools, they use the standards, the gold standards to kind of help guide their work. And there's some things that you guys really touched on. First of all, the mutual benefit to this isn't just about the partner doing something for the students. Of course, that's a primary motivation, but there's got to be some mutual benefit to have it go deep and have it be sustainable. And you guys really highlighted that, as well as the post-secondary reach and how it's another touch point. Those work-based learning relationships provide another touch point for schools and pathways to stay in touch with their students after high school graduation. And Jen talked about how the engagement in high school carries forward. It's not just about the engagement for that class or for that grade or whatever, but that carries forward beyond high school too. So I really appreciate you kind of highlighting all of that. So now we're going to have a breakout, and you're going to go into smaller groups where we'd like you to think about what you heard and share what you heard from the presentation that resonates with you, and that you will take back with you. And what questions were raised for you in the presentation? What did you hear that made you think, you know, how do I do that? Or I need to know more about that. And we'd like to highlight that here so we can follow up on those things. And also, what would you like to focus on to improve outreach, onboarding, and or training for your industry partners? All right. So we'll take about 8 minutes in our breakouts. Again, you will have a facilitator in the room, but we ask that one of you offer to be a reporter and note taker, so that afterwards we can ask you to report out just one or two of the kind of highlights or questions that came up for you in the breakout. And so we'll do that. We'll have about 5 minutes at the end. So again, we're going to go for let's say 7 minutes. I think that's 8 minutes, and do that, and then we'll come back all together. So so had some great questions. So I wanted to let's say let's see if we can get to, first of all, the chat question from before that Lindsay raised. And I think that Eric, you wanted to kind of address that, right? So is that right?
Yeah, actually Diane did too, briefly there at the end, and she was saying a couple of things that we were saying. But I think these are great questions, because really you do have to figure out, okay, this is nice, this is nice, and this is warm and fuzzy, right? How do you use this as an implement? How do you implement this in any kind of standardized way? And this is a great question. How are you connecting work-based learning to core content courses beyond electives and clubs, right? Because you know, electives and clubs, there's an ebb and flow to those to a large deal. So if we had to just rely on electives and clubs, sometimes you're just relying on you're leveraging parent support, you know, and some of your industry partnerships are actually their parents, and you have them for 4 years, kid graduates, you don't have them anymore. So does that mean that your advisory board just, you know, totally does a 180? So I think that's a wonderful question and topic to address. Sustainment. How do you, you know, what systems do you use to sustain your advisory board over the long haul? So real quick, what's the role of your partners within your advisory board? So we have different types of partners on our advisory board. Some of them we are compliant in, like, meeting regularly and things like that. So we do have those advisors on our board come, and we do our meetings, and usually they're off hours, you know, they're after work hours and things like that. So we're early in the evening sometimes, and we'll have an updated meeting, and we encourage, in those meetings, we have students, we have a student voice, we have teachers in the academy, we have core teachers, we have other subject teachers involved, and then we have our advisory board industry members. So it's really cool that all voices are heard at some of those. So yeah, that's one way is, and also just making sure that we have relevant content. That's what we really rely on our industry advisory board members to bring that element of expertise to our academy. We always want to make sure that we are in our little teacher bubble, that we're teaching relevant content with skills that the students can apply today at some of those places. Right. So that's one of their roles. Almost like subject matter experts, right?
All right, thanks. And you know, we aren't going to be able to get to everybody's kind of question, all the breakout groups. So just want to offer the chat as a place where, if you have questions that you came up that we're going to report out on, and if we don't get to you, please, we encourage you to put them in the chat there. That would be great. So I think, just to get started, maybe with the group that I was in, Ryan volunteered to kind of report out some of the questions that came up. So Ryan, if you want to just take a minute to kind of share our questions with the group.
Yeah, disregard the phone that all of a sudden somebody's trying to call me in my classroom for once. Hold on a sec.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
Okay.
I have 2 other meetings going on right now, so it's my attention's been kind of scattered. But the question I brought up, because we have a pretty good advisory board, they've been around for a while. I came in actually as the lead teacher after somebody left, and we had to shift our vision and the direction our academy was going. And so we just had our first advisory, we just had our first class graduate last year. And my question is, what are some systems that have been put in place that help you keep kids connected with partners locally post-graduation? Because that's one thing that we really wanted to kind of look at now moving forward, now that we have a class that's out there, you know, whether they went the 2-year route, the 4-year route, you know, what are some things that, just to give us kind of a springboard into looking into, that would fit our academy in terms of maintaining that relationship for students after they leave our school?
That's a great question. So, and I think, you know, we'll if there's just some really quick thoughts, because we've just got a few minutes, I'm going to wrap up from the presenting team, please, by all means. But otherwise, I think that is definitely, I'm glad you raised that, because that is a question that I think we want to continue to have a dialogue around.
I don't know if Eric or Erica have something specific from Lancaster, but I think that's a huge challenge in letting students know what opportunities there are locally. And we like to call it the drip theory or the layer theory. You just keep giving them that information. And so Aaron mentioned Northrop Grumman, Eric mentioned that we have a really good relationship with them, telling students about what opportunities there are, and just continuing to mention, oh, we have a Cal State Long Beach satellite campus here, and Cal State Bakersfield, and they have direct relationships with the aerospace companies and you know, other types of healthcare, things like that. So just continuing to mention it, because they'll still come back and say, I had no idea, right? So it's layering, but that's a great problem, a great question, and a true challenge.
Yeah.
Super good question. My answer was going to be Diane Walker. Really, she was going to be my answer. No, honestly, because I'm not sure. I think that she should have a counterpart in every school district. I hope she does. But I mean, her at her core, she is our liaison. You know what I mean? So having somebody like that dedicated to maintaining some of these relationships with industry is like invaluable. You know, we really rely on Diane. She's amazing.
If I could real quick, so for us, I felt the need to create, like, we're a nonprofit as an after school program, but we started this whole work program is actually, it's a social enterprise where it's like paid internship. So for me, it was the best way to grab young people, was actually putting money in their pocket and teaching them those real life hands-on skills, like kind of in the workforce and what it's going to be like in the real world. And at the same time, it's that paid internship. It's that you're getting paid to learn. And it just seemed like that next, and it's a small time, 12-week thing, but it really, we get a lot of buy-in from our students. They gravitate and they bite into it. Eric was here doing 2 days last week doing composites training, and the buy-in from each student that is like hanging on every word, because this is their life, this is their next step, all the education they've just gotten from high school, and now that's right there, getting their foot in the door in that actual workforce. That paid training, that paid internship seems invaluable for our class. That's what we found right now.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, I don't want you guys to discount the power of relationship also. I mean, a lot of the reason why they're staying connected to Eric, and they're staying connected to Aaron, and they're staying connected to Ryan, is because they are seen by you guys. And so they, you know, you build those relationships. It's not like you just come in and you do your 9 to 5. If a kid has a question or needs extra help, you guys are constantly there to support them. And so that doesn't go unnoticed by these kids who really, at their core, really just want to be seen by someone, and you guys provide that for them.
Great. Thank you.
That really, I think that goes, if that's not a 60-40, I mean, that's the 60% is the relationship and creating the sense of belonging, that being investing in yourself, that now here these people that they constantly are pushing that you're worth it and you're worth their time and they're putting energy into you, that it I think that's really it. And we're really trying to knock down a lot of these barriers. A lot of our young people, our underserved community, that there's a lot of other barriers that they're facing every day. And when we kind of help chew through those on the daily, and we're actually invested in every person and their family and what's really going on to help you succeed. There's a lot of different theories on drug addiction and homelessness. And I really feel a big part of that is just a sense of belonging. And how do we make your belonging to something positive and something cool, and you're worth it. So pushing that, that's 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for, I mean, I think everybody can see the passion that you guys have for what you're doing and for the students that you work with. And that was just a fantastic way to kind of end it with those final comments there. And obviously that was a good question. We could have a whole nother hour on that, but unfortunately we're already a minute over time. And I just want to ask everybody to, if they look in the chat, there's a link to a feedback survey. We'd really love to have your input. Helps us, kind of help tweak these webinars and decide on kind of what directions we need to go with the conversation that's going to really serve everybody's needs. So appreciate it if you would take a minute to respond to that survey. And while you do that, I want to just remind you of some upcoming opportunities. In mid-January, we'll have a post-secondary transitions release, speaking of that topic, and a new certification platform launch for the new silver and gold certification. And then in late January, a student-led legislative briefing. So we do a lot in the policy arena as well. So hope you can join us for some of those things. And I would like to thank again, Diane, Eric, Aaron, Jennifer, and Erica Rowe. Apologize, Erica, and I know better. So that's what I get for reading from a script and not thinking while I'm reading. So really appreciate your engagement today. It was fantastic. So thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.